intro to like CCNA. Just give me 2 minutes to set up my screen and I will just share that with you and we'll go ahead and start. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. The class is going to start in just like 2 minutes max. My PPT is just coming up. That's it. Yeah, okay. I'm back. Sorry about the delay, guys. So let's go ahead and start. I hope uh, we have everyone joined in. So, yes, as I was saying, so today's session, first of all, welcome all of you for this intro session. So, in today's session, what we're going to basically do is discuss a little bit on uh, like what are the things and everything that we'll be covering on CCNA, what is your requirement, and we'll have like a to and fro conversation so that we can identify what like the student's requirement is also for in the inside this particular session. So as a basic intro, I'd say like as us as networkings, we mainly concentrate on the student's requirement on like what is that you are looking for from this particular session. So for example, let me say some students might be like most of you might be working professionals, some of you might be students who are currently studying like maybe BCA, BTech, something like that. So we have the option to have the session based upon your requirements. Some of you will be looking to get a more hands-on practical requirement, whereas others might be looking to get the certification done. So depending upon that, we'll make sure to cover all the different topics and everything that we will recover, that will be required inside this particular sorry about that, required inside this particular curriculum. Okay, am I not audible? Just give me a
Yes, sir,
second.
I can hear you properly.
Okay, for a couple of you, it's not audible. Guys, just check your speakers, check your volumes and everything. Might be issue with that. Okay, so if you're still not able to hear me, just let me know. Okay, great. So as I was saying, we'll be taking it in all these different levels. We'll make sure you'll have a clear-cut understanding of all the topics that we are taking, as well as for the like prepare you for the exam, the CCNA based exam. So in earlier stages, like I think around 2020, CCNA just got an upgrade, and in the last year also, it got another upgrade. So earlier it was CCNA routing and switching, where we were mostly just concentrating on the routing and switching part of the networking. So now we got it a bit more updated, and right now we are concentrating on all the different types of aspects. So if you're going for CCNA, you have a lot of different options. Like you can go for the enterprise, you can go for let's say data center. So different options are available for you. Okay, not audible for someone else as well. Just give me a second. Let me just disconnect my audio and connect it back in. How about now? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, you are.
Okay, so the people who are still not able to hear me, I don't think the issue is from my side, probably something with your speaker or headphones. Please do check that because others are able to hear. Okay, great. So back to our topics. So as I was saying, you have multiple options when you are opting into this CCNA-based networking. So before starting, I'll try to give you a small introduction to that as well. So let me just check that. Tracks. So yes, I'll just share the screen over here. So as you can see over here, so these are some of the different career paths that you can look forward into. So out of this, for my suggestion is always go for CCNA first, and from there you can choose which option to go for. So the first exam on the associate level, the best option is directly go for CCNA. You have one more exam before that, that is entry level, also known as Cisco Certified Systems Technician or support technician. So this is not something I would suggest at the moment because most companies are looking for somebody at least with a CCNA. So preferably option like the preferred option is go for CCNA first. Audio is not coming for somebody else. Bodhraj, please. Okay, 1 second. Just give me a second. Okay, that should work. So as I was saying, the first option always is preferably go for the CCNA. And over there, you'll be getting a basic idea about like what are the different types of networkings, what are the different types of topology, the type of devices, everything that you will actually require for this exam. After that, the second level is specialist. That is not mentioned over here at the moment. So basically what the specialist level is that you can go for one of these exams. So for example, if you are choosing to go for enterprise track, you can either go for the core exam or like one of the concentration exams. If you're writing any one of these exams, you will be at the specialist level. Okay, similarly, if you're going for service provider, you can take any one of these optional exams and you will become a specialist inside that particular field. Then you have level 3, which I consider professional. So for that, what you have to do is you have to write at least one of these concentration exam along with the core exams. So you can see each one of these track has one exam mentioned as a core exam. So you go for one of the one core exam as well, any one of the optional exams. So if you are taking SP core and any one of this, you will be a professional in service provider. Okay, and all of these exams, none of them are practical, all of them are theoretical as well as MCQ based questions that you'll have to face up to professional level. And then you'll be moving on to expert level, which is an 8-hour lab exam. So what they'll basically do is they'll provide you with a question or a problem, and you'll have to implement the solution for that problem from scratch. Okay, you'll have around 8 hours. So that will be a directly proctored by Cisco. Like a Cisco proctor will directly come to a Cisco certified location, and over there you have the option to take the exam. Okay, so these are the 4 levels that you have. Then you have multiple other options like automation as well as cyber ops. So those also have like similar kind of tracks. So like CCNA, it has DevAsk, and instead in the cyber ops, you have CBR ops. Similarly, if you take one of the exams over here, you'll have specialist level. And if you take core as well as a concentration, you'll be professional level. Okay, so these are the different tracks that you have from Cisco side. My suggestion, if you're new to networking, always go for CCNA first, and then you can decide like which track is more suitable for you. Okay, great. Okay, we have a question. Okay, that's a very good question. So Adil, if you're going for a like network engineer based role, some of the major ones I would suggest is go for CCNA first, then go for NCORE. Okay, enterprise level certification is a huge thing when it comes to a network engineer, and or you have the other option to go for data center. So out of these two, you have to decide like if you want to work a bit more on enterprise level or data center level. Okay, so my suggestion would be go for CCNA, choose something between NCORE or DC core, and then you can go for automation.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Great.
I
Which
have a
do you do?
question.
Please go ahead.
So actually, my motive to join CCI security or for the cloud security. So actually, basically, I'm new in IT sector.
Okay.
So my aim is to complete CCNP and then complete CCI security and then further move to the cloud security. So what?
Okay, so you're going directly for CCIE security.
No, actually, first I want to complete CCNP.
Okay.
With some firewalls like Palo Alto and checkpoints.
Great. Okay, that's good. So again, so if you're going for security and if you want to actually keep that kind of certifications in check, like because most of the companies will be checking these certifications as well when they are checking your career path. So you can go for CCNA first. Once you this I'm suggesting because you said you're new to this IT side. So you can go for CCNA first, then you can go for S-Core. That is CCN, that basically gives you specialist level certification. And since you mentioned cloud, my suggestion is you can go for S-Auto. Okay, S-Auto or wireless, I don't suggest. Okay, you can go for S-Auto itself. So it gives you a bit more idea towards automation and cloud over there.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so S-Auto is based on security for automation. So that will get you a bit more idea towards that cloud. The area will be bridged for you. Great. So for cyber security, I got a question. So if you're planning to stay inside the cyber security track, so you can again go for CCNA first, then you can go for cyber ops as you see over here, and then you can choose this track. But when you're choosing the cyber security track, my suggestion is like go for cyber ops and then wait sometimes before going for the CCNP or like CC specialist level. The reason being, right now, this DevNet track as well as the cybersecurity track, the CyberOps track, it's in its initial stage. So they are just setting up the courses. They haven't completely finalized those courses. So if you're going for CyberOps, go for the first one, the associate level exam, and maybe wait a year before going for professional level. Okay, it will give you a bit more uh, like streamlined and a better courseware to go through on the long term. So I think, Mark, you got the expected output from that question. And is there any question, other master over here? No, I think that's it. Oh, wait. I'm a transmission engineer. Now I want to start as a networking engineer. BSc configuration. Yes, so Sadik, right? So yeah, again, that this will be a good place to start. Like if you are moving into this networking from another department, and especially since you have an IT-based like background, I think this would actually work for you. So you can start with CCNA part, and then like since you're planning to stay on a long term for this networking area, you can either go for enterprise, and after enterprise, if you're completing it, you can choose data center or collaboration. Both of them will be helping you out. Since you worked in transmission, this collaboration also would be a good option for you. Okay, and
I have a question.
sure.
So what is the difference between, CCNP and core exam and CCNP and RC exam?
Very good question. So the thing about core is that it only deals with that particular topic. For example, if you're looking at N core, this is enterprise core. So that they will only concentrate on that one particular topic, that is enterprise. Whereas when we are going into concentration exams, they have like a combination of this core and some other technology that we have over here. Okay, so as a simple exam, you can see in all of them, you have the option of auto mentioned, right? DC auto, SP auto, N auto, CL auto, security auto. So the reason for this is because like we introduced this DevNet, and now we are trying to integrate this DevNet track along with all of these different topics. So for that, we introduced these courses, N auto, SP auto, etc., which basically means we are making sure we have the option to include this automation for enterprise-based certification, service provider, data center. So for these people who are working in enterprise, they might not want to take this completely different course as DevNet to get an idea about automation. Instead, if they want to work in enterprise, they can take this N-Auto. So basically, they'll be getting a bit more idea about enterprise as well as the automation integration requirements. Okay, so they don't have to completely change their track. They have the option to go through their own track as well as learn about other technology. So that's the thing about concentration exams. Core exams only about that particular track. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Great. Harshit, so I have a 4-year gap. So by doing CCNA course, does it matter? Definitely. So if you have, Harshit, can you just give me a clarification? By 4-year gap, do you mean that you have not worked or you're working in some other department? Unemployed. Okay, no worries. So in that case, definitely, reason being, nowadays, the number of people who are actually looking for the certifications, especially offices, like different corporates. But the only thing is like when you're just in the starting period, you can't expect work from home or anything like that. because most of the networking based associates will have to go to the office, because we are mostly dealing with hands-on devices. We'll be having different types of routers, switches, everything. So just by going through CCNA session, you will be able to understand how to manage all these different types of devices, how to set up different types of securities, how to set up different types of filters. All this you'll be able to learn how to completely manage all these devices. Okay, so definitely going for CCNA is gonna matter. It will definitely give you a huge boost, especially if you're actually taking the exam as well. If you're not taking the exam, then you have to make sure to mention inside your resume that you have completed this particular course from this particular institution. For example, if you're taking it from networkings, like we are a bit famous. So if you even just mention inside your resume, you completed like a 2-month course from networkings, that has a huge boost. Okay. So, but if you're actually taking the certifications, it will be like a bit more better. So they will be able to actually understand, okay, this particular person is good. He have got the certification as well. Okay. I think you got it. And Google, you're working as an L1 engineer, office field. Okay. I want to know switching and routing configurations. So, like if you're planning to just learn about switching and routing configurations, it used to be CCNA switching and routing, but now we have improvised it a bit. So over here, like my suggestion is like you have the CCST as an option if you just want to learn about switching and uh, routing, but that will be kind of a waste. Like if you are going for that certification, my preferred option again will be start with CCNA. We will be covering about switching and routing inside the CCNA course, along with like a few more extra topics, like a bit more in-depth topics we'll be covering. Again, my suggestion for like Google, if you want to go for a long-term requirement, my suggestion is go for CCNA. The exam code is 200-301. You'll be able to find a lot of different types of courseware resources, everything online, like the different indexes, the topics you'll be able to find online. Required courseware, you'll have to register with like any training team to get an idea on that. I think you can just go over to networking site. You'll be able to download this index over there. Probably towards the end of the session, I'll just show that to you. So yeah, so back to our session. So let me just open that. So these are the different levels that you have. You have the associate level, you have the specialist level, professional level, and expert level. Okay. So moving on. Any other questions? None so far. Okay. So these are some of the topics or the major topics that we'll be covering inside our CCNA networking. Okay. First thing, we are going to discuss a bit on networking fundamentals, like what are the different types of devices that we have, or what are the different types of actions that we'll be doing over there, and how to set up a particular set of network, what are LAN, WAN, MAN, etc. So these kinds of concepts we'll be discussing in network fundamentals. Then you have network access. So basically setting up a particular device, providing it the required credentials to access a particular network. So all those things will be covering in network access. Then you have IP connectivity as well as IP services. So IP connectivity, you'll be having multiple types of IPs like static, dynamic, etc. You have IPv4, IPv6. So different types of IPs, everything we'll be discussing over there. And IP services, basically kind of like, let's say, different types of data transfer. Like we'll be using switching over there. We'll be discussing about routing over there. We'll be discussing on multicast, unicast, broadcast. All these kinds of concepts will be discussed in IP services. Then you have security fundamentals, where we'll discuss a little bit on firewall. We'll be discussing on how to set up different kinds of passwords or different types of credentials on a particular networking device. It can be a router, it can be switch, it can be any networking device, even like a Wi-Fi modem you can consider as of it. So how to add layers of security over there, how to access that particular device from a completely different networking device. So for example, if you want to access a switch or router, there are multiple options. You can directly connect to that switch and access it inside your system, or you can access like set up SSH or telnet methods over there and then access it from your personal system. So different methods like that will be discussed. Then you have a small topic on automation as well. Here we'll be discussing different concepts like netconf, chat bots, how to set up automation from a chat application. For example, like if you want to create a new virtual machine or if you want to deploy a new router or a switch, all you'll have to do with the help of automation is open your WebEx or some other chat like chat application. Over there, you just type in like, I need this VM established with maybe 8 GB RAM and 50 GB memory storage, something like that. You type it over there, you press enter. Automatically, this bot will take that request to that device and implement everything over there and let us know this is implemented. Or if some failure happens, the bot will come back and let us know there is a particular issue. You have to look into this. Okay, so those kinds of automation. Everything is possible with the help of this automation and programmability. So for that, we'll be mostly discussing with Python and shell scripting. Yes, we have another question. Prajapati, okay. Without international certification is enough to get best job in with training certificate like CCNA, CCNP, Palo Alto, Firewall. No, I won't suggest like for all of them as training certificates, but for CCNA, I think training certificate has a huge value depending upon the institution where you got that training certificate. Okay. Whereas for the other ones, I would not suggest going for just a training certificate. For example, NCore, ENARSI, or especially Palo Alto and all, I would really suggest go for the certification because for Palo Alto, there are like a few resources available online. And there has been issues where people mentioning they have taken the training, but not just using those resources. They might have learned something by themselves. That sometimes won't be enough. Reason being, when you're actually taking a particular session, like a training session, there you'll be able to see different types of labs, different types of scenarios where it can fail, it can work as it's supposed to. All these scenarios you'll be able to see on a long-term based session. Okay, so for CCNA, I would suggest okay, training certificate will be good enough. But for CCNP and anything above that, please go for the certification. That is highly suggested.
May I ask a question?
Please go ahead.
Sir, I was informed or I was told that in order to better grasp the concepts of CCNA, I would be better to go through the Network Plus curriculum. Is it necessary for it, sir?
You have to go through what?
Network Plus.
Network Plus.
CompTIA, right? You might know.
Oh, CompTIA. Okay, fine.
CompTIA Network Plus thing.
Not actually required much. CompTIA is actually a good course, but for going through CCNA, you don't really need that because CCNA will be starting from the basics.
Okay, sir.
So you don't have to worry on that. CompTIA, again, it's a good set of course to start with, but for CCNA, it's not a prerequisite. I won't suggest that.
I told that because, sir, so I was chatting with someone. I have a A+ course as well. That's why I've done that. I've passed it. So I thought
Great.
maybe.
So if you have that, then that's definitely a plus. Because you have some idea about the concepts that we'll be discussing. But the thing
Yes,
is,
sir.
like we will be discussing all the course, all the requirements in CCNA itself. So whatever that you got from CompTIA, we'll be discussing that over here. We'll be going through the basics because most of the people tend to start with CCNA. So we'll try to make sure all the fundamentals, everything will be discussed during our CCNA session.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. Like CompTIA is a plus, but I won't say that will be a requirement.
Yeah, I have A+, not Network Plus. That's why.
Okay, that's fine. Like so now you already have some kind of network basics with you.
Yes, sir.
That's good. That will be great for this session.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, so let's move on. So, network fundamentals. So this is like just an introduction. Okay, guys. So what is this network fundamentals or network components? Okay, so that's what we're gonna discuss. Okay, my bad. So that's what we're gonna discuss next. So just give me an idea, like when you see this term, what does come into your mind? The name network components. Anybody, feel free to answer. There are no wrong answers here.
So routers.
Sorry.
Sir, can you repeat your
Routers.
question?
So like what does this network components, like if you look onto your screen, you'll be able to see network components. So what comes into your mind when you actually see this particular word, network components?
So network is a group of devices like switch, router, hubs, and user end like laptop, mobile phone,
Right.
etc.
Definitely, that's network. That's a good answer. Yes. Anything else? But you actually answered something over there. So we'll come back to that. Okay, we can go ahead. So as you said, network is a combination of different types of uh, devices brought in together. And you also mentioned like the names of a couple of those devices, like routers, switches, computers, etc. So these devices, you can consider them as network components. So any kind of device or any kind of apparel that we are using to establish this network, you can consider it as a network component. Okay, so for example, just like you said, you have network devices such as switches, routers, etc. You also have other stuff like uh, how to put this, endpoint devices like your laptop or maybe your mobile phone. If you have Wi-Fi, you are able to connect to the network, right? So your mobile phone can be considered as one of those devices. And even like you'll be having different types of RJ45 cables, which you basically use to connect between two devices. That can be considered as a network component. So basically, any device that we are using inside this particular network to establish this connection can be considered as a network component. Okay, and so the major types of components that we are going to look into will be routers and switches. Okay, so the first thing, let's quickly go over there. What is a router? So a router is basically a device that connects or helps you to transfer data between multiple networks. Okay, so let me just give me a second. I will put on a whiteboard. It will be better to explain over there. So these are the topics that we will discuss later as well, but we'll just quickly go through a few of the topics now itself. Okay, I kind of logged out. Just give me 2 minutes, guys. So in between, like if you have any doubts regarding this CCNA sessions, please feel free to ask right now. Anybody? I can see a lot of people joined in our session today, actually. Really happy about that.
No doubt, sir.
No doubts. Okay, great. So just give me a second. I'll just share this. 46. So I'll share my whiteboard and we can just quickly go through some basic topics over here, like what is routers, what is switches, etc. So, okay, there we go. I hope my board is coming up visible to you guys. Okay. Okay, let's just keep that out. So, yes, as we were saying, like, what are routers? Okay, we got one question. After completion of CCNA, can I be okay? Yeah, that's a Google question from Google. After completion of CCNA, will you be able to get placement? Definitely. So after the completion of CCNA, my suggestion would be like try to spend a bit more time and work on the courseware and everything that we discussed. But if you are already working on it during our session, then that will be well and good. But because inside this session, during our session itself, we'll be going through all the different types of labs, all the different types of uh, requirement for that particular CCNA exam will be covered during our session itself. So those people who are actually planning to join this session, the only suggestion from my side is get the packet tracer. So I will be able to share the um, like installation file if you need, but you have to make sure that you are able to install packet tracer on your system. As well as I will want you to create a Cisco ID using your Gmail ID. It's a free, both of them are free, completely free. So you don't have to pay for anything like Packet Tracer or Cisco ID. All you have to do is create a Cisco ID, and using that Cisco ID, log into the Packet Tracer application that you download. That will be the only requirement, because most of the content and everything that we will be discussing will be done over there on this Packet Tracer. So we'll be running different types of images, pre-created images. We'll be running like implementing those images as well. So during this session, the main two things that we will try to do is I'll make sure that you learn how to both implement and troubleshoot.
Hey Kevin.
Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, is this packet tracer the lab work we are going to?
I'm sorry.
Are we going to do the lab work in this packet tracer?
Yes, we will be doing the lab work in Packet Tracer. So
Okay.
over there, we'll be like preferably Packet Tracer, reason being like all the requirements for our session is already available over Packet Tracer. So if you are going for GNS or like some high-end stuff, the problem is there are situations when some of the student systems might not actually support GNS. Whereas Packet Tracer, the requirement is very low, as well as it supports everything that is required for CCNA.
Okay.
Okay. So, Satik, yeah, Packet Tracer is completely available online. You'll be able to download it just by doing a Google search. Let me see. Like today, I don't have the link right now. Maybe when we start the session on the first day, I'll try to share the Packet Tracer link.
Sir, don't we have a dedicated lab environment?
Yeah, we do have a lab environment. The reason I mentioned is that Packet Tracer will be a bit more faster, as well as the images. It will be a bit more like you will be able to use this content even after the session if you are using Packet Tracer.
Exactly.
Got it. Like these, like we have a dedicated environment. It's GNS3. Sorry, not GNS3, my bad. It's EvenG environment. So we have that. The reason I suggested Packet Tracer for CCNA, I always suggest Packet Tracer for CCNA students. The reason
Yes,
being,
sir.
I'll be able to share you some images. On that, you can work. Okay. So if you're using EvenG platform, maybe after about 2 to 3 months, you won't be able to access that for too long. Whereas Packet Tracer you'll be having in your system, you can keep on practicing. That's why I suggested Packet Tracer. If you require the other platform, I'll try to get in with the team and make sure you get the credentials. Okay, no worries on that.
Yes.
Okay, great. So as I just mentioned, the requirements will be Packet Tracer and a Cisco ID. Both are completely free, as well as this will be our target. I'll make sure that you guys, like whoever is joining, will be able to implement a network as well as be able to troubleshoot a network, going through a step-by-step process to identify the issue and fix that particular issue. Because in most occasions, you won't be implementing it, whereas when some issue comes up, you might have to troubleshoot it. So we'll check on both of them. Okay. So let's go back to routing. So we have two kinds of actions which we'll be concentrating mainly. So that is switching and routing. Okay. So in this switching, so there is just like one slight difference between the switching and routing. The thing is, in switching, it basically what happens is that it helps to transfer the data inside one network. Okay, so the data is being transferred from one device to another device inside the same network or inside one network. Okay, whereas when it comes to routing, the change is that you'll be transferring data from one device to another device, which are in different networks. Okay, so that is a change. The first case, all the data stays in one network. In the second case, the data gets transferred between multiple networks. Okay, so switching, we have our L2 device, which is known as switch. Okay. So that is L2 device, which is a layer 2 device, which mainly deals with MAC addresses. Whereas in routing, you have an L3 device or a layer 3 device known as router, which mainly deals with IP addresses. Okay. We have L3 switches as well, but when it comes to our discussion, we'll consider switch as an L2 and router as an L3. Okay. Up to here, are we clear? Are we good?
Yes, sir.
Right. So back to the topics. So as you can see, these are some of the major functions of router, how to forward a packet from one network to the another, how to decide what are the different aspects of this routing, how to connect multiple networks together. So these are some of the actions that the router is responsible for. Okay, so these are that. Then you have, again, some of the other major functions that takes place inside the router. You have packet forwarding, network address translation. So NAT or network address translation, that basically comes up when we are using something called an edge router. For example, inside your network, your system or your computer might be having one IP address. Whereas like when you are sending this data outside, maybe to the internet or something, we might not be using the same IP address. So you have public IP address, you have private IP address. So to translate or to keep a record of that, we use something known as network address translation or NAT. Then you have routing, you have interconnecting of multiple networks, subnetting. Okay, so that's one of the most important parts when it comes to CCNA, subnetting and ACL. So we'll get to that. So subnetting is a method of actually dividing one network into multiple networks. So these, how to do that, why we do that, everything we'll be discussing during our actual session. NAT translates private IP address to public IP address. Yes, pretty much the same. So let's go back. I'll just show you what happens over there. So, okay, let's use this example. Imagine that you have a router over here. And inside that, you have a switch connected to two computers. And outside is the internet. And here, imagine that you have a server. So you want to access this server from PC1, PC2, switch 1, router 1, server. Okay, so if you PC1 want to access some data on this server, if you are using this internet as a medium, what happens is that the IP address of this network, this particular PC, the actual IP address. So imagine that is 192.168.1.1, and this is 192.168.2. 1.2. Okay, so if that's the IP address, it will have the same IP address until it reaches this particular router. Reason being, this is a private IP address. If you're sending a data packet outside with this private IP address, this internet won't be able to send the response back to that particular PC because it has no idea what is this particular IP address or who that IP address belongs to. So instead, what happens once it reaches this router, inside this router, there will be basically a small table with corresponding public IP address. So private, public. So 192.168.1.1. It will be having a public IP address, maybe like let's say 209.15.16. something. So once it reaches this router, what happens? It gets translated to this particular IP address and the packet goes out. The request goes out to the server, but during that time, the source IP address won't be this. Instead, it will be this. Whereas the destination IP address remains the same. So it reaches over here, gets the data, and through the internet, it comes back. So when it's traversing from the server to this router, this is the IP address of that particular packet. Once it reaches this router one, what happens? This gets changed into this IP address and the data will be forwarded to that particular PC. So this is basically how the NAT works, network address translation works. We'll look deeper into it during our session, how it works, like what are the action that is actually taking place over there, etc. Those kind of things we'll discuss. Okay, so I think you got a basic idea on what this NAT is.
Yes, sir.
Great. Then you have a lot of different components for your routers, like you have your hardware, you have your software, you have the different interfaces, etc. So this comes for both router and switches. Okay, not just routers. You'll be having CPU, you'll be having the RAM. Again, basically the same as your computer, CPU and RAM. You have the flash memory, you'll be having the NVRAM. So there you'll be able to store all the different data or different configuration of your devices, etc. Then you have your software components like your operating system. So when it comes to Cisco, we have basically four types. Four types of operating system. You have iOS, iOS XE, iOS XR, NXOS. So these are some of the softwares that we have for our Cisco devices, depending upon its requirement. Like mostly for data center, we use NXOS. Enterprise, we use iOS XE, etc. Then you have ports and interfaces. So these ports and interfaces will be different for different devices. And we even have the option to change the ports inside a device. We'll be able to remove a particular module and add a new one, basically setting it up with a new port. Okay, so some of the different types of ports are the people who have already worked on networking field. You might be knowing this, like fast Ethernet, gigabit Ethernet, serial ports, console ports, etc. So these are some of the ports that we have on this routers and switches, etc. Okay. So that's it on different types of router components. Then we'll be discussing about different types of routing protocols. So these are some of the major protocols, out of which RIP, OSPF, and EIGRP we'll be discussing a bit more because those are the ones dealing with LAN-based connections. When it comes to CCNA, we'll be discussing more on smaller or larger sized LANs. Whereas BGP is something that we use for external connections like border gateway protocol. This we are using to send data to the internet. For basically the internet runs on BGP, to be honest. All these connections, all these routers, everything is based upon BGP for the internet. And you have different types of routing methods, static and dynamic. So what you saw over here, RIP, OSPF, EIGRP, BGP, everything, these are all dynamic based routings, whereas you have static routing, where you by yourself will be mentioning how the routes has to take place, how the packet has to go from one device to the another, etc. Whereas in dynamic or RIP, OSPF, EIGRP, etc., in dynamics cases, like we'll just mention you have to implement this method, how to set these packets through which route, everything that will be decided by the router based on these protocols and how they work. Sorry, these protocols and how they work. So these are some things that you can know about networking. So I think our time is up. Just give me a second. Somebody from networking is joined in. Okay, so I think most of you got some basic idea on this networking, right? Like what we are using over here, how to go through these different aspects. And so the main thing I want you to get from this particular session is get an idea about what are the different courses that you have, and like make a decision on what kind of track that you like to go for. So for that, we'll try to discuss a bit more on that during our actual sessions. Okay.
So the actual sessions start from tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, don't
No, I'm
think
asking, sir.
so. No, I think probably in a week or so, probably. Tomorrow, I don't think so. I'm not informed out and on a session from tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
Let me see. Let me check with the team. You guys have registered with your mail ID, right?
I've been told the classes would be start from 15th.
15th.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me check with that. Friday. Okay, let me check with the team. I don't have a confirmation on that yet. Probably on 15th in that case. Okay, I'm just a trainer part. The decisions is made from the managerial position. So great. And like before leaving, any doubts on the topics or like something not discussed here also, please feel free to ask. Like if you're having any doubt on the course, it would be a good time to ask. So just as an intro, like where are you all from? Like if you like to talk something and why you want to choose this networking, feel free to do it now.
Can I start?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I'm basically from India, but I moved to the United States 7 months ago.
Great.
I have a bachelor's degree in computer applications BCA.
Mm-hmm.
So I was having a bit of a tough time finding a job here. Then I
Okay.
found a training program here. I did A+ with them. I found a
Okay.
job. It was a contract role, 1 month contract role, but they decided to just leave, like not continue after 2 weeks because they themselves were facing problems in the tech thing. So then I thought maybe I should upskill myself, and I looked into courses. So CCNA is the thing I'm starting with.
Definitely for networking side, I would really suggest go for CCNA. Get an idea on this whole networking side. And before going for other courses, maybe work for like 6 months or 1 year to get a better hands-on idea. So that will actually help you for the exam or as well as for the next